welcome into Union Station. Thank you once again for everyone for being here. This is our final one this spring. We will be picking up again in the fall. I don't know if you can believe this, Scott, but this is year 14 of running the show, and you've been here since it started?
From the very, very beginning, and first episode over in Czech Village, so it's kind of amazing. Here we are 14 years into it.
Absolutely.
I'm the last one standing.
I know. Scott Doctorman, of course, joining us this week, and then as well as Iowa head coach Kirk Ferentz. He's in to talk some football for Iowa. Coming into this last Saturday, it was a spring practice. It's the final practice. After it, you said that it was a productive spring. You saw a lot of growth from your team. How are you feeling about where your team sits right now?
Yeah, it's a really interesting year, Chelsea. We're not near as veteran on the defensive side as we've been the last couple of years. So the chemistry, the makeup of our team has been different, from the time we got started in January. And we quit doing spring games, 10, 15 years ago. It just, it just seems like it's more productive for us to go out and practice certain things that we want to get done. And I've always tried to look at spring ball as like in its entirety, not just one day, one given day. But that being said, I don't think we've had a bad day this year, which is always good. Can't always say that. There's usually one or two in there that leave a little bit to be desired. Hasn't been the case. And, a lot of loose ends right now, rough spots. But the biggest thing is seeing the growth, as you mentioned, and talk to our guys all the time. We've every year in January, we have a different team, no matter who's back. And the experience levels, talent levels are all different, but everybody's capable of working hard, paying attention, trying to be detailed, and if they do that, then they'll grow. And that's, I think, overall, we've done a good job there.
Last year at this time, all those quarterbacks are now somewhere else, and now you've got a bunch of new ones. But on Saturday, and I know it's one snapshot out of 15, so you take it with a grain of salt, and the one that's probably going to be your starter was able to just throw a little bit. But what have you taken from the growth that you've seen from Hank Brown, from Jackson Stratton, and then Jimmy Sullivan, who should be at prom here coming up?
Yeah, exactly, and it's talk about just different. The room's different, certainly. It was different to have both Jimmy and Hank were there for a couple days before the bowl game, which was the first time we've ever done that as well. But at least it gave him a jump on learning. You can tell Hank is much further ahead than Jimmy. Jimmy, as you mentioned, should still be in high school, basically. Hank's been in the college system, so he picked things up a little quicker. But pleased with both guys. I think, it was rough for Jimmy, and we had a lot of false starts on Saturday with him in there. Get a new quarterback. Cadence is a little bit different. He in the center. Haven't worked together a lot. Those are things that will be ironed out. I'm not overly concerned about that. But he had a tough day. But it's this period going through some tough times will really serve him well in August. He'll be so much further ahead than he would have been going through this. And then Hank, same thing. I mean, this is really a good opportunity for him to jump in. We all wish Mark was out there, but it gave him a chance to work with the first unit, get a lot of good experience. And I think it'll serve him well, too. I think we'll see a big jump with him. And then Jackson had his best day on Saturday. Not that he's had a bad spring, but that was clearly his best day, so that's encouraging as well.
Mark Gronowski is a name we keep talking about. Obviously, you brought him in. He's a proven winner. He said one of his goals is to also prove that he can play at the Big Ten level. What makes you confident that he can kind of lead this offense?
Yeah, I've just seen too many players, whether it be in my career in college or when I was in the NFL. Not everybody comes from USC. Not everybody comes from Notre Dame. And coached a lot of guys that came from smaller schools that did just fine once they got their feet on the ground and started working, learning the tempo. And in Mark's case, I don't see that being a big adjustment at all. He's just so impressive as an individual, and that jumped out when we went through the recruiting, the dating process, if you will, speed dating in this day and age. But he was here for almost 48 hours with his dad back in January, right after the bowl. Just really impressed with him. Not that every player's got to be an electrical engineer, but or mechanical, whatever he is. I think he's mechanical. And anyway, he carries a really high GPA. And again, he's not boisterous in the least, but you can just tell he's really focused. He's got a plan for things, and he's obviously executed that too. So just an impressive young guy. And it's tough. He came in here, had surgery right off the bat. So it's when you're injured, it's not. It's really tougher to get with the team in a way that you would if you were right next to the guys training. But that being said, over 3+ months' time now, he's done a great job of really earning everybody's respect. Joined the player council last week, and all the guys that were captains were just 100% in support of that. So that's a really good sign. So he's done a really good job of just taking care of business. We're eager to see him go, and he's starting to throw a ball now, so he should be fine here in June.
I think one of the things I've noticed over the years at quarterback is it's not so much about how, what you do with the ball if somebody's open. It's about the intangibles, and it's also about the clutch moments. Yep. Can you will your team to victory? Can they rally around you? Can you produce in those key moments? And very few quarterbacks have ever done it like he has at the FCS level, and he's only, 2 wins shy of breaking a record in his own right. How much did you study him at South Dakota State when you were evaluating him, and evaluating what he was able to do in those key moments for South Dakota State and put them in position to win games and championships?
Yeah, definitely watch his tape. It's a big part of the evaluation, and but a bigger part, to your point, is just what did he accomplish, and that's again where I think the levels are. They're important, but it's not everything. And the bottom line is, he's been part of a really good program up there. We played him a couple of years ago. Nothing but respect going into the game, and obviously coming out of it, tremendous respect for their program. And he's a big part of the reason they have won a couple national championships. To me, that speaks very highly. It's not the end all of the quarterback, but it's certainly a plus. Consider all the intangibles, all the things he's done academically, just his maturity, the way he carries himself. All those things, I think, really lend themselves to the kind of football player we're comfortable with. And you don't win championships without going through big moments. You have to. Nobody just breezes through any level of competition. And the conference those guys play in, that's a tough conference. I mean, I don't know why we schedule anybody out of that conference. Right. That's a different discussion. But so he knows what it is to compete each and every week, and just really excited to get him going, get him in the flow of things with us.
I know maybe some fans are making some comparisons of bringing in a Caden McNamara. Unfortunately, he gets injured. It's a little bit different with the Gronowski, bringing him in and everything. But did you guys maybe learn anything different from that Cade experience that has you maybe taking a different approach? Because you guys have said Gronowski's health is recovery, is a little bit ahead.
I don't know. I think, with Cade's situation, it was just a series of bad things, and he had a couple things, and probably the most, he was coming off a knee surgery when we signed him. Quite frankly, the thing that really impeded his progress more than anything was the quad damage that he had. I think it was August 12th. They just kind of burned in my memory bank. It was a public practice out there in Kinnick, and he was just running free, and down he went. And that, to me, is where everything just started going wrong. And then, just when he was starting to come back and look like the guy we thought he would be, then he had the ACL injury. So just a series of bad things. And I know he's going to play another year. I hope he can just go through injury-free. That's one thing I hope for every guy that plays football, no matter where they go to school. You just hate it's the worst thing in football is to deal with injuries. So I don't think there's anything anybody could have done about it. I was talking to somebody about this weekend. Usually you're talking to NFL people about this prospect, that prospect, and when you play somebody from a different team that's a first-round pick, it's really unusual to be on the sidelines and not notice that player, where they're not impactful, or at least they're part of your preparation. And we were talking about somebody who was kind of one of those phenomena, if you will. But it's really rare when we've played against a guy who's a really good football player where you don't have a vibe about the guy. And circling back to Cade, that's how we all felt after the championship game there in 21. They had a really good football team, but he was the guy making them go, and he played really well against us, played really well that entire season. So, again, I think, anytime you talk about injuries factoring into a player's career, it's just a tough deal.
Yeah.
When you look at the wide receivers, were really impressive to me, and it sounds like that they've been really ascending in the spring. And we've seen a lot of spring practices over the years where you've had unbelievable defensive backs, and it's hard to get a completion. Well, this time around, and you probably worry about the other side in some respects, but I saw a lot of good things about them too. The way they were cutting, the way they were moving on, cutting without the ball, whatever, basketball, I guess. But anyway, you've got 7 or 8 guys I think you could probably plug into a game and feel like they could go out and produce. In what ways have you seen this unit grow? And how do you think that they'll rally around Mark when he's able to come back and start throwing?
Yeah, two things there. I think your observations, same thing that we have. We feel the same, and it's just been a process. It's nobody ever wants to hear that. That's typically how things happen. So we've brought in some guys. Jacob Gill last year was a really good addition to our football team, and he was it was a young group a year ago. Certainly 2 years ago, same thing. He was a veteran player who I would not describe him as flashy, but just really steady, knows how to do things, and just has a good presence without being really outspoken, but really mature, great work ethic. And so I think, the other players have learned from him, certainly. And then, Sam Phillips just joined us. He wasn't able to work Saturday, but same kind of guy, just an older guy who's got a good tempo about him, very respected by the younger guys. And now we're seeing some of the younger guys, I think, also start to develop a little bit and, get some confidence in that. That's been fun to watch. And confidence is something you can't give a player. They just have to work and they have to fail. They have to go through some tough things. And but I think overall, the entire group's a lot better now. Certainly, there's going to be good competition. Vanderzie's an easy one to cherry pick. You think about it, he missed basically the entire summer last year with injuries, so he was just playing what everybody saw publicly was him kind of learning on the job. Yeah. And it really took him, I think, probably 2/3 of the spring practice before he started looking like the guy maybe we thought he could be. Starting to play some confidence and strength, using the strength that he has. But I think I could say that about every guy in the group right now. Dayton Howard's a better football player than he was a year ago, and go right down the list. So it's interesting. And then you get some newcomers like Parker, KJ Parker, who really did a good job on the scout team last year, and then this spring he's really done a lot of good things in both phases, running, catching the ball, but blocking as well. So all of a sudden we got a good group, and I think all those guys, just like everybody else on the team, they'll mesh with Mark, no issue at all.
All right, we'll talk more Iowa offense with Coach Ferentz when we come back.